They talk about, well, Trump took more paper. Well, Biden put more paper in different locations. One has nothing to do with the other. But I bet you at the University of Delaware, there's a treasure trove of classified and non-classified government papers there that Mr. Biden stuck in his pants. Now we jump into documents. I think now we've had a fifth iteration of Joe Biden just happening to find documents, or now the FBI finally came into his Wilmington house, although they were watched by the private lawyers as they looked for 13 hours and came up with more documents. And these documents go back to his time in the Senate, not just the vice presidency. So this has been going on for decades. This guy has been taking classified information out of the Senate, out of the vice president's office. And because Merrick Garland decided to criminalize these matters because he wanted to go after Trump on January 6th, and they instead decided to fall back on Plan B when Plan A was not fruitful, they got stuck with Biden. And Garland knew it. So he covered up for over 2 months what they knew. They knew at least 2 findings of documents in the phony think tank where Biden was receiving almost $1 million a year in washed-through communist Chinese money, in my view. And then they found unbelievable classified documents in his garage in Wilmington. That was December 20th. They kept it secret. They had a U.S. attorney in Chicago who was going to retire soon, was looking at whether they should have a special counsel. I want to remind you that this guy issued his report to Garland on January 5th. Garland didn't appoint a special counsel until January 12th. Why? Because he didn't want to appoint one. And he was going to kill it. Until, guess what? They found another document. And he realized he couldn't kill it. He couldn't keep it secret anymore. And the leaks were coming. Very protective Biden leaks. The first leak on January 9th after my interview with James Comer on January 8th on Life, Liberty, and Levin. They put out a very limited leak about the first documents they found and how they've been cooperative, and there's no obstruction there. And then they had to leak the next day to NBC News about the second finding on December 20th. The third finding hadn't actually occurred until January 12th, and that's when Garland had his press conference and said, I'm appointing a special counsel. Appointed a completely different special counsel than Trump's. Trump's special counsel is busy prosecuting genocidal war criminals in The Hague. This guy, Herr, I think, was in the private sector at this point. He'd been an aide to Chris Wray. He's a rhino Republican. So you can see the difference. And of course, in the case of the special counsel appointed to investigate Trump, he's all politicized with his wife, with his mother-in-law, himself. Supreme Court's gave him a body slam in a unanimous decision when he went after former Republican Governor McDonald on just such ambiguous ground. So he's a very dangerous man who doesn't know his lane and doesn't know really the limits on what a prosecutor is supposed to do. So he's a very dangerous man, not so the special counsel appointed to Biden. Furthermore, they didn't appoint a special counsel to investigate the Biden crime family. In fact, this is very limited to documents. And so this is a big problem. Here's what Garland knows. Garland knows what's on that laptop. That laptop tells us that Joe Biden is a crook. The laptop tells us that Joe Biden took money off the top from these various foreign ventures that his son was involved in. The laptop tells us that, in fact, the Biden family did sell access. And in fact, Biden knew more. An email the other day found from 2017 demonstrates that when Biden said he didn't know anything about the businesses, because Biden is a pathological liar, always has been. From the time he was in law school as a plagiarist, when he ran for president early on, when he was a senator, and since. He is a pathological liar. And he'll lie about this. So they circle the wagons and they go on about how they've been cooperative. The guy's had documents for 20 years. What do you mean he's been cooperative? And so the media spin, and I don't agree with some people who say the media want to get rid of Biden. Maybe at some point, but not yet. They're circling the wagons. You got a few here and there. That's about it as far as that goes. So let's take a look at this. DOJ search finds new classified items in Biden's Wilmington home, ABC, this week. Go.
We turn now to the other breaking news overnight, with additional classified documents turning up at President Biden's home. Senior White House correspondent Mary Bruce is tracking the latest. And Mary, it's a dramatic step for the Justice Department to search a sitting president's home. But the president's lawyers say this was a consensual search.
Yeah, Martha, they are describing this as planned and consensual. They say they offered the DOJ access to the president's home. There was no warrant. This was not a surprise search, but there is no question this is a very big development in this investigation. The FBI fully searching the home of a sitting president for nearly 13 hours, combing through all of the living, working, and storage areas, rifling through decades of president.
All right, slow down. There are parts of the house that they were not allowed to search. She doesn't say that. Warrant, they didn't even issue a subpoena, which is short of a warrant. And they're working with the president's private lawyers. Wouldn't Donald Trump have liked that? Go ahead.
Biden's old files, papers, documents, even handwritten notes, his old to-do list, and they did find even more classified material. Now, they aren't saying exactly how many pages or documents were found. They're describing this as 6 additional items with classified markings, including some going back to the president's time in the Senate.
Isn't it amazing that they didn't lay him out on the floor and take a picture of him in all these locations? That's what happens. That's why they haven't sought a subpoena, or more likely a warrant, because they'd have to present something more than what they're presenting now. We take this very seriously, and that's about it. They went after Trump. They laid out as much as they could put out in the public, including a picture that was absolutely unnecessary. And they've done completely the opposite for Biden as the Praetorian Guard circles their wagons to protect this clown. Go ahead.
In addition to his time as vice president, and Martha, the Justice Department even took back some of those old handwritten notes for further review.
And Mary, the problem is the White House insisted all week the president takes classified documents seriously. They've downplayed the special counsel probe, but more classified documents keep showing up.
Exactly. The president has been adamant, saying there is no there. He has been exuding confidence, even if some frustration, insisting they are doing this by the book. They are fully cooperating. And for days now, the White House press secretary here has really hammered home this argument that the president takes classified documents seriously, and yet they keep finding more of them.
He does take them, and he's serious about taking them. That's about that, as far as that goes. Enough for her. So you have to ask yourself, since the FBI went to the Wilmington home and they found additional documents this past weekend, why wasn't the FBI searching these locations on February 4th? They find original documents November 2nd. This is at least the timeline that we're given, the private lawyers. The Justice Department's aware of it on November 4th. So why didn't they assign the FBI to do independent search without the lawyers around at the phony think tank in Wilmington and in Rehoboth, or any place else these people hang out, including Hunter? But I have another question that's not being asked. Now that we know that he took classified documents from the Senate, where are all of his Senate papers? They're at the University of Delaware. Nobody's been able to see them. So why doesn't the FBI get off its ass, stop chasing down January 6 trespassers and paraders, and go to the University of Delaware, where there's got to be reams and reams of paper, and find out if there's more classified information? I'll bet a lot of money there is, because I'm the one who said presidents and vice presidents, they all do this. Not what Biden's done, but they all do what Trump's done. They take some of these documents back, then they negotiate and they give them back, or they debate over them and so forth and so on. You don't criminalize that, but they have. They have. They're trying to create an obstruction issue here. Because under the main two laws, the Presidential Records Act and the Espionage Act, they're not guilty. And even more than that, what about the papers that are not classified? You're not supposed to take those either. That's called stealing government property if you really want to play tough with this. They talk about, well, Trump took more paper. Well, Biden put more paper in different locations. One has nothing to do with the other. But I bet you at the University of Delaware, there's a treasure trove of classified and non-classified government papers there that Mr. Biden stuck in his pants.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.